The next thing which we need to do is install AWS CLI. Since we now have built and tested our prediction pipeline, we need to make sure that when we want to invoke our LLM, we feed OpenAI's API key directly at runtime. That is, we do not store our API key as a .env file or as an environment variable or pass it using getPass. To establish a connection between our local application in VS Code and our AWS account, we need to install the AWS CLI package. This CLI package would then give us an access key and a secret access key, something which will be clear in a while. And using those access and secret access keys, that is your account's credentials, you will then be able to access Secrets Manager. This is a different service offered by AWS, and the usage will be clear in the next video. So without further ado, let's start installing AWS CLI. So go back to your AWS console page and search for IAM. Once you're on the IAM page, on the left-hand side under Access Management, click on Users. For users, I already have a user created for the purpose of testing and building this application. But in order for us to create a new user, just click on Create User. For the username, you can type LLM user. And after doing that, click on this given option that provide user access to the AWS Management Console. This is very important because that is exactly what we want. After clicking on this, there are again two options. We want to choose a second option, that is I want to create an IAM user. So we click on this again. Now comes the part where we have to provide a password. So there are two options, again, like auto-generated password or custom password. We'll choose the second option. I have already filled out these details, so I'm just going to go to a copy of the same tab, which is this. So my username is LLM user. I've chosen that option, and I've chosen a console password, which is custom password. The password I gave was the same password which I'm using to create my AWS account, my free tier account. So after that, you can either choose to show your password or you may not, because ultimately in the end, you'll be able to download your provided password. So after that, we click on next. You can choose to save your password. And with these options, like with this, you will have three options: add user to group, copy permissions, attach policies directly. We won't be adding any policies or copying any permissions from other accounts. We'll just go with the first option, that add user, because we just want to create a user right now, and then we'll attach policies and rules later. So just click on next again. After that, review and create, everything looks good. So we just create the user. The user gets created, and then you are given this option to look at the username, which is LLM user, and your console password. If you click on show, it will display your password. But it is also possible to download your credentials, that username and console password, using the download.csv. So we'll just download that. And after that, we click on return to users list. So the user has been created. But that is the first part of creating a user. Now we need to set up our access keys. So to do that, we click on LLM user, and we then, under permissions, groups, tags, we click on security credentials, because we want to create security credentials in order for our VS Code or our local laptop to establish a connection with with your respective AWS account. So under security credentials, scroll down, and under access keys, click on create access key. Once that is done, you will be given these 6 options. We want to make sure that we establish a connection using the terminal in VS Code or on a Mac, or maybe it could be Windows. So, and we'll be making that connection using command line interface. So that is why we'll be choosing the first option, that is CLI. After choosing that, click on confirmation that I understand, and click on next. We need to provide a description tag value, that is describe the purpose of the access key and where it will be used. A good description will help you rotate this access key confidently later. So let's say we want to use OpenAI Secrets Manager. So if you don't know what Secrets Manager is, it will be clear in the next video. Don't worry about it. Just for now, just type out this name and just click on create access key. So the access key has been created. You can see your access key here. You can also see your secret access key. It's very important, do not ever expose them, especially the secret access key. And you can download your CSV files here again. So just download them. it will display LLM user, whatever your account name was, the underscore access keys, and just save them in, let's say, your documents or some place safe, and just click on done. And with that, we now have created a new user. We have also added security credentials to our file. And with that, we are now ready to install AWS CLI. So in order for us to install AWS CLI, what we need to do is basically go to this particular URL. I'll be pasting a link to this URL to install the most recent version of AWS CLI in the README section. So after we come across this page, we are given 3 options based on the kind of OS we have: Linux, Mac OS, or Windows. I have Mac OS, so I'll just click on that. After this, there are again 3 options, like how exactly do I want to install CLI. I would be using command line installer for all users, and then copy and paste these respective commands in my terminal. So let's say if I have my terminal opened up, I'll just copy the first command, which is this, and I'll just paste it here, and then I'll go ahead and do the second command and paste it again. And then after those 2 get installed, I can just verify using which AWS and AWS version, and should display the version of AWS which is currently running on my system. I will not be installing these commands on my Mac because I have already installed AWS CLI. But if at any time, let's say if you run this thing to install the AWS CLI version 2 package, and then you try to install sudo install AWS this, and it throws an error, it says that the package requires Rosetta 2 to be installed, that is sudo software update install Rosetta, a message would be displayed on the screen. Just copy that message, that is sudo software update install Rosetta, and try to run it first. Click yes, and then try to run this command. So then after these 2 options have been installed, all we need to do is basically set up our AWS configure. So we go back to this particular URL, and once we're here, we scroll down, and under configuring your AWS CLI commands, we click on short-term credentials. And then on your terminal, you type AWS configure. In your AWS access key ID, we provide our access key, which you have downloaded in the previous step when we were when we basically built our IAM user. And for your AWS secret access key, the secret access key would also be part of the CSV file which you downloaded. You can set up your region name. You could either press enter, it will pick the default region, but since my account is in US East 1, that is the account which I'll be passing. And output format, you can just leave it as empty and just hit enter. And after that, your AWS account would be set up. So with that, in the next video, we'll be learning how to build, we'll be learning how to store our OpenAI's API key inside Secrets Manager. So see you in the next video now.